In this segment, we're going to be looking at test mode. So in our controller, mode 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is test mode. To enter test mode, you press the enter button on the right, and then you have parameter number 1 in test mode. So parameter number 1 is the blower speed control, and it is in a percentage rating. So if we want to bring on the blower speed and test, we're at 0% now. We press the up button, say 10%, and the blower comes on at 10%. If we want to increase that to 20%, 20%. And we can run that rate up to 100%. We'll be able to see what the maximum flow delivery, the maximum CFM delivery through the house could be. And if that's too much, then we just reduce it down to whatever level the duct size is able to take, and we get good air volume movement through the home. So again, you have full capability to test this down to from 1 to 100%. Full range, you can adjust in 1% increments. And then once we know what the maximum CFM rate that we need is, for example, where we're getting good volume at all the registers, not very quiet, perfect, kind of a perfect scenario, then we can go into our settable controller or settable parameters, into our heating and cooling parameters, and adjust those accordingly. And then on the other side, we can run it down as low as we want to see at what airflow rate what minimum airflow rate do we need to be able to move air through the house, through the ductwork, and then that would be our minimum setting. So we can use the blower, the parameter 1 in test mode, to test the maximum and minimum blower speeds that we can then use to set up our controller parameters in mode 3, 4, and 5. So our general heating and cooling parameters. So anyway, that's so let's go to we'll go back down and we'll set this to 0 so it doesn't just turn it off. We'll go to parameter 2. Parameter 2 does the same thing but for the pump. So for example, if we have the pump connected and it's flowing out to the tankless water heater, we can look at the flow rate through the tankless water heater and then increase the pump speed just the same as we did with the blower speed, and we can increase it all the way up as well. So we can see what the maximum flow rate through the with the pump through the whole circuit would be, and then we can bring it down from there as well. All right, we bring it up to maximum, and we can bring it down. So we can find the minimum and maximum flow rates that kick on and kick off the tankless water heater, for example, as well. So, and again, we can set it to a rate that we're able to deliver the all of the heating that's needed. Okay. So actually, when we're using, so this is one thing, when we're using the variable speed pump control, which goes out of these two wires, it's the red wire that follows up. It wires to the C1 connection. That's providing a variable power output, and you can see on the board when we're actually using it, that the red light will illuminate as soon as we start to go into the range for that pump, and it will get stronger as we hit 100%. So again, when we go below our threshold of 35%, then the red light will go out, meaning we're not using the variable speed pump anymore. So actually all of the red lights will be indicated so that you can see exactly what is on and what is not on as we test through the different components. So now let's set that. Let's go to parameter number 3. Parameter number 3 is our pump relay. So I just showed you that number 2, the the variable speed output, the LED light is here, and the variable speed control outlet here, and goes up to C1. We also have another 24 volt pump outlet, and that would be more to control your primary loop pump. If you need to send a signal to your boiler, if you need to send a signal to a pump to come on a primary loop, for example, you could use that relay through a transformer to bring on that pump. So let's just test that relay. So right now the relay is off. So then we're going to switch that to on. And as soon as you see it on, you see this yellow LED light that illuminates. So we can actually see, and this is in test mode, but even in normal operation, we can see clearly when power is being supplied to that relay without even going into the controller, just by looking at the LED lights that are illuminated. So we'll turn this off, and it goes off. So now we'll go up to parameter number 4. Parameter number 4 is our boiler TT signal. So are we sending a signal to the boiler to come on or not through the dry contact? Well, let's check. Right now where it's off, let's go into test mode, we'll turn it on, and again you see the yellow LED light that illuminates next to the relay as it sends. So we know that we are now sending, that the dry contact is calling for the boiler on in this case. We can then test to make sure the boiler comes on appropriately as well as we're testing this. Number 5 is our heat pump relay. So we are going to test right now for O, which is same as W1. So right now it is off, but we're going to, oh sorry, that's no, number 5. So we're going to go into that mode, turn it on, and now you see the red LED light that illuminates, indicating a call for heating. So now what we're doing is, from this heat pump, from the O contact, we'll be supplying 24 volts to the reversing valve for the heating call. We'll turn that off. No, off. Now into parameter 6. Parameter 6 is going to energize the B contact again for the reversing valve. So depending on what mode your heat pump is in, whether it needs supplying from the O or supplying from the B, depending on what its default is, we're just testing the relays. So again, we're going to go in, we're going to turn the relay on, and again, you get another red light that lights up directly behind the relay, showing that we are in fact supplying power to the relay, or should be at this point supplying power to the relay. 7 is the AC relay, so if we want to send a signal out of the Y1 to the compressor, and this is from the output contact, not from the thermostat, this is the output to the compressor that we're testing right now, our 24 volt signal. So right now it's off. We're going to go in, we're going to turn it on, and now you get the green light indicating cooling. So now we are sending 24 volts out through the Y1 contact, and the compressor should come on. So we can test the reversing valve, we can test the compressor, we can test any of the TT contact, we can test the circulator output, all from the board. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go out physically or do anything or jump any wires. You can do everything from the board itself. So let's turn this off. Relay goes off. Parameter 8 is the Y2 contact. So again, the same thing. We'll go in, turn it on, and you see the green light illuminates next to the Y2 relay. Turn it off. And then 9 is the dehumidifier, which we're not using at this point. Number 10 is the dehumidifier. So when there's a call for heating, we will send 24 volt output to the HUM as it's indicated on the board, or it could be written humidifier. But we'll supply 24 volt output to the HUM contact. So again, let's just see where that is. So we'll go in, switch it to on. You see the HUM contact in this case is up here, just by seeing the red light. And again, the red light denotes that it's going to come on a heating call. And number 11 is our flow switch test. We'll go up to 11. Right now it's off. And this is just telling us it's off. So actually there's nothing really to jump here. It's just going to tell us whether the flow is on or not, or whether the flash on, if it's working correctly. And you can also open a flow switch to open a faucet to trigger the flow switch, and then we'll be able to see what it's doing here on the board. Number 14, if we go up to 14, again our dampers are open by default, and they close on a call for another zone calling for heating or cooling. So they're normally open, but let's say you have two-zone system. Both the dampers for zone 1 and zone 2 will be open normally. If zone 1 calls for heating or cooling, then the damper for zone 2 will close. So a lot of contractors mistakenly, they want to, if they're calling for zone 1, they want to measure the power supplied to zone 1, but it's actually the opposite. We're actually going to close damper for zone 2, so they're going to have to check that contact to make sure it's closing, because the zone 1 is normally open, and it will keep open because we want to supply CFM to that area. And then we can go and adjust the damper, and we can adjust that in percentages, 90, 80, 70, 60. And again, you see the damper. So this would be the damper for zone 1. It would light up as you saw there. And it would supply through. So we can check to see if the relay is working and if it's supplying or not. And you can go right to, as you see, go right to 0 to close it, so you can see if the damper is closing, and then you can go right to the other side, right to 100% to see if it fully opens. So you can actually test it right on the board. And that is the same for 15, 16, so you're looking at the supply and the potential return damper for each of the zones. And again, you can have up to 4 zones, so you could do 8 different tests here, and that's what these indicate, from 14 right through to 21. You're testing all the different dampers. So then if we go up to 22, oh, sorry. Go 22. So now we can test the airflow through zone 1. So we can increase the airflow. So if we want to test the volume of air through each zone, just to make sure that zone in particular is not going to see too much CFM, even though we set the parameters based on a percentage of total CFM. Here on the board we can actually test and run it at, right now we're running zone 1 at, let's say, 15%. So if that is sufficient for zone 1, then we can leave it at 15, or we can go back into the parameters, into the cooling parameters, for example, and the heating parameters, and set zone 1 at 15%. If we're able to run some more volume through there, we can do that too. So we can test for each zone and how much airflow is enough, how much is too much, how much is not enough, and then what is the just right number, for example. And then we can do the same thing for zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4. So those are all the parameters in the mode 6 in our test mode. And again, you're able to pretty much diagnose everything that is on the board, everything that we need to check for electronically, and any of the airflow rates through the unit. So thank you for your time.